pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would everyone please remain standing and bow your heads? Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing us here tonight. We ask that you watch over the great city of Newman and give this council the wisdom and guidance to do the right things with the great city of Newman. In this we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Graham.
Here.
Candia.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Caton.
Present. Thank you. Declaration of conflicts of interest, if any. Seeing none, go to item 6, ceremonial matters. I'm not sure if we have any of those. We don't. Item 7, items from the public, non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council, now is the time to do it. Seeing none, go to item 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions set by title. B is approval of the warrants. C is approval of the minutes of the April 28th meeting.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. 9, public hearings, and we don't have any this evening. Go to item 10, regular business. A, first reading and introduction of ordinance 2015, next in number, amending Title 11, Public Ways and Property, adding Chapter 11.05A, Water Conservation and Education, and rescinding Section 11.05.230, irrigation of lawns and landscaping of the Newman City Code, complying with state emergency water conservation regulations. Soon.
Good evening, City Mayor and City Council members. As you know, we have experienced very severe drought last 4 years. So this proposed ordinance will be really helpful to meet the drought condition as well as comply with the state emergency regulations. So in order to explain the proposed ordinance, I have prepared a presentation file here. This is a summary of what happened associated with emergency regulation by the state. January 17 last year, the state governor declared drought emergency. July 15, 2014, emergency water conservation regulation came out. And this year, April 1st, state governor adopted the executive order, which include statewide 25% reduction in water use. This is a mandatory executive order by February 2016. And these mandatory actions by water suppliers, which include City of Newman, the city must provide a monthly monitoring report to the State Water Regional Control Board. Based on RGPCD, which means residential gallons per capita per day, from July to September in 2014, the city has set the goal with 24% reduction in water use. Most of the city in Central Valley's goal was 36%. That means our water conservation program has been working really well. So maximum fine per day is up to $500 for the property owners, and water supplier is up to $10,000. So based on those requirements, we proposed 5 stages through the new ordinance. The stage 1 include this item. From March 1st to October 31st, all outdoor watering will be prohibited between 1 and 6 p.m. The stage 2, the staff recommend stage 2 comply with emergency water conservation regulations at this point. The 1 and 6 p.m. restriction remains same. However, there are 3 days water restriction in there. For example, the address number ending with even number, the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday will be allowed for the outdoor watering. For example, irrigating the grass, any kinds of outdoor watering. odd address number, only Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday will be allowed. It means that Monday, there should be no outdoor watering. If our effort, unfortunately, doesn't work, and then we must move to the next stage, which means stage 3. The restriction time remains same. However, the outdoor watering restriction will be more stringent. For example, 2 days only. Even address, only Tuesday and Saturday, and odd address, only Wednesday and Sunday. And also, any decorative fountain or ponds will be prohibited. Stage 4, which is even more stringent, only 1 day outdoor watering will be allowed. For example, even address, only Saturday, odd address, only Sunday. And car wash will be prohibited. If we move to stage 5, all outdoor watering is prohibited. So at this point, based on our analysis, our current water conservation program, the step proposing stage 2. So this graph shows where we are at in terms of water conservation and water production. The green line here shows the 2013 water production rate. It starts from 30 million gallon in January all the way up to 130 million gallon in August. The blue line here shows 2014. So because of the water conservation effort with the city, we achieved 8.3% reduction in water production in January and 24.9% reduction in April. Based on the 24% the goal, I think that we are on the right track. However, if we move to the stage 2 in the new ordinance, we can achieve the goal much better. Because if we miss any requirement, because there is the possibility of a $10,000 per day fine for the city of Newman. So this is a very serious issue for all the community in Central Valley, California. So implementing of stage 2 standard will help the city of Newman achieve the mandatory 24% reduction in water use and comply with state emergency regulations. If the council adopt the proposed ordinance, the new stage 2 standard will be effective on July 1st, 2015. As such, it is recommended that City Council introduce by title and waive first reading of ordinance number 2015, amending Title 11, adding Chapter 11.05A, Water Conservation and Education, and rescinding Section 1105.230, irrigation of lawns and landscaping, which is overlapped with the proposed ordinance. I can answer to any question you may have.
Any questions or
Yes.
comments for consent?
Yeah, a comment.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about finding people. How are you going to determine if they're using excess amount of water? Now, if each household,
Yes.
if they know how much water they're using, that makes sense. But if you don't know how much that household is using per month, it is really not fair to find somebody when maybe they're using a lot less than their neighbor or
Yeah.
anybody else.
Yeah, there were a lot of arguments regarding that issue. For example, for example, the front yard, some house has very steep slope. Even 5 minutes is overflow onto the street. But last year, the state provided very vague information about that. But however, based on the recent new regulations, no matter what, the slope or no matter what, if there any overflow onto the street or onto any non-irrigation land, for example, just open space or the sidewalk or the driveway, that is regarded as the violation.
But you have to realize that homes were designed in such a way that that would come off and go into the gutter. That's the way the homes in Newman are designed. They're not designed for it to run back towards the house. So what I'm saying, there's not a lot of consideration that goes into this.
So in that case,
The way they're determining if somebody's overwatering should be by gallons of usage from a household. It shouldn't be someone driving around and they see water running in the street and the guy gets fined $500.
Mayor Pro Tem, excuse me. Maybe I can help with you. So under this new ordinance, there are a number of acts here that constitute water wasting. One of them is an overflow. Sometimes when properties have steep slopes, and some of them do, and some of our employees have that too, there needs to be a way, and sometimes you need to water it a couple times where you're doing it for a slower period of time so it has an opportunity to sink in. This water conservation ordinance we're proposing, it's more geared to try to get people educated about it, try to work with them so they can figure out how to resolve some of these issues. We know that some people are going to have a difficult time because of the slopes and stuff of their properties, and we're going to need to work with them to try to figure out a solution. But we're only trying to comply with what the state regulations and regulators are telling us.
Michael, I couldn't agree more, and I couldn't agree that we should conserve and everything else. But I think it has to be fair, and I think people have to understand. If I turn my water on, 2 minutes after I turn it on, it'll be running out in the street. It's just the way it was designed. Now, if anybody doesn't know that, then they don't understand the problem. So what I'm saying is it's very difficult to water a lawn with sprinklers, the way they're in the lawn, and not have it run off into the street.
We're not disagreeing with you on that. A lot of us personally that live in town face that same problem. Some of it is just our soil types. Some of it is our slopes. Some of the newer areas in town, they didn't excavate the land, they just built the pads up, so the front yards have an extreme slope to them, and there's some overspray. So again, we're going to try to educate and work with property owners on how to best resolve this particular situation when they have that.
Well, I know that I water once a week my front yard. That's all I do, once a week now. And I'll continue to do that, but because I understand, I want to conserve water. But I just think that there's some flaws in the way they determine if people are wasting water.
Maybe a situation is instead of watering it once for a longer period of time, you do 3 short ones.
I only water for half an hour. That's it, half an hour, once a week.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying though is, you may want to consider 3 times at 7 or 8 minutes, and you probably get a better result out of it instead of 1 at 30. So anyways, there's just little things that we can probably help our property owners think about and try to educate them on what's the best course of action for them on their particular property. Again, we don't go out and just because we see water running in there, we're not going to go out and fine you the first time we see you. We're going to try to work with the property owner and try to figure out a solution so that they can be in compliance with this and help the city achieve the goal. The whole goal is on a city-wide is to get 24%.
I want to see us in compliance. I really.
If we don't, we're subject to $10,000, us as a city,
I couldn't agree more,
$10,000 a day.
Michael, but I'm just saying, I just think this whole thing is wrong, the way, I don't think there's consideration given to exactly what's taking place out there.
And we don't disagree, and talking to my fellow city managers, in particular Ceres and Turlock, they're at like 32 or 36% reductions. So there's some arbitrary language that has come down from Sacramento, because we all know that Sacramento knows everything and the cities don't know anything. So, you know, they're arbitrarily putting these rules on us. We're just trying to do the best we can to live with them and try to educate our residents on how to be the best water stewards we can. And that's the goal of this ordinance.
Okay. Sorry to be so ornery, but
No.
it's something that
Yeah.
that I don't think is fair, and I think there should be like a water czar in the state of California,
Yes.
looking at everything, and I think they're more in tune to the general public,
Yeah.
residential homes, than they are to other areas, and I think that's wrong.
And there are other places in the state that are only doing 6 or 8% reductions, and to hold the valley to a higher level in the middle of the summer than you would in the Bay Area where it's cooler. You know, there's some inadequacies that are going on as part of this whole statewide program that's in place. But again, we're going to do our best to comply with what the state regulators are
We'll
telling
comply,
us.
because we're not going to pay $10,000.
The state's looking at it as a whole, though, correct? Not a per person?
No, they're going to look
looking
at
it as a per
they're going to look
capita?
at individual cities.
Yes.
and
Right,
look at
that's
our
what I
pumping.
mean. but as a whole as a city, but not as his water and my water and.
They're not going to say.
Individually.
They're not going to say, Mr. Graham, you
Right.
did not achieve a 24% savings, so therefore you're fined $500. The city's not going to do that, and the state's not going to do that.
Right.
The state's going to come look at our pumping numbers, and they're going to make a determination from our
Based on per
perspective.
capita.
The other ones are, again, under Section 11.5A 130, acts of constituting water wasting. That's where the individual homeowner and the property owner, whether it be commercial and industrial, come into play.
Yes, city manager had mentioned, the city staff started the water conservation program since the state governor declared the emergency last year. So we found more than 100 violations. But however, we haven't ever issued any citation or fine because most of the people don't understand what's going on. So we approach them, try to provide information. For example, we issue some newsletters, including the water conservation program, some more details. We provide that and phone number. Sometimes we leaving phone number. If they contact us, sometimes we measure what's going on, and then sometimes we provide the more technical advice to the residents. So it's not just punishing our resident. We're trying to help. So if any resident have any question, they can contact the city, especially Public Works Department, anytime. So then we can set a meeting. We can help. We can help on that issue.
And Mayor, just point of clarification, so under a stage 1, under this ordinance, it's basically status quo for the city. That is what our current water conservation program is no watering. A stage 2 is a 3-day watering program. In any case, we would need to go past stage 2 if we weren't in compliant with state reg of a 24% citywide reduction. Then ultimately, we'd probably try to go to stage 3, which is a 2-day. From my perspective, and this is my discussion I had with my fellow city managers, because many of the other cities, if not all of them, are moving to a 2-day program. My basic comment to them is, well, what if I water 2 days at 15 minutes, but I do water 3 days at 8 minutes? So 3 days versus 2 days doesn't necessarily always equate to water savings. It's an education program, talking to people about it and doing some of those other things. From a citywide perspective, you're going to go around and see our parks, and all of our parks are going to have a brown tint to them, just because we, as a city, with the amount of acreage we have for parks, are probably one of the larger, if not the largest, water user. To go along with that, the school district as well is another large water user because they have a lot of turf. So that's where we'll start and probably realize most of the savings is through the city parks as well as trying to work with the school district.
Is there any funding coming down from the state for education on stuff? If exactly what you just explained, to send out a flyer with to.
No.
No, but if this ordinance passes and stage 2 is declared, we'll put something on our water bills. When even because there's a 30-day hold period after you publish before it goes into effect. So we'll start the education process. We'll work the newspaper, we'll put it on our water and sewer bill as they go out. More and more people are starting to already call us about it, so we're kind of prepping them and saying you should anticipate in July 1 that we're moving to a 3-day program, and this is what it would look like.
And from my experience, I know a lot of people already water their based on the days, the number of waterings, and that based on other cities moving here.
Mm-hmm.
Other cities have had that in effect for a long time, so a lot of people automatically do that anyways. So to educate the rest of them would be pretty good.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, council direction?
I move to introduce and first reading of ordinance number 215, next number, amending Title 11, Public Ways and Property, adding Chapter 11.05A, Water Conservation and Education, and rescinding Section 11.05.230, Irrigation of Lawns and Landscaping of the Newman City Code.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, we'll go to item 5, District 5 Supervisor Jen D. Martini.
Good evening, Mayor Caton, council members and staff. I just have a couple of things for you tonight. Our West Side Healthcare Task Force this Sunday will be doing its first cooking class. It's a project we've been trying to put together for a while. It finally came together. We partnered with a faith-based nonprofit, the Discover Life Living Center, and we will be holding this class at Patterson High School Sunday at 3 o'clock to roughly about, I don't know, 5, I would say. And we're also going to be doing health screenings there. We'll have medical people there that will be giving blood tests for glucose levels and blood pressure tests too. So I left the flyer with you. I have, it's like this. This one's in Spanish, but I left you the English one there. If you know anybody who would like to go to that, it's learn how to cook healthier and then get, you know, a screening also. And as everything the task force does, there's no charge for it, you know. And also, I left with you this flyer. This is the West Side Walks. And we've done this one for a number of years. We decided we were going to promote this a little more this year. So every Wednesday, excuse me, every Wednesday beginning on June 3rd to July 22nd, we will be sponsoring walks around the high school tracks in Patterson and Newman and around Miller Park and Gustine. And this would be for you to come with some friends or family or by yourself if you want, and just walk at your own pace around the tracks to get some exercise. It's probably better if you do it with a group there, and you can get some exercise and be with some of your friends. So this is probably about the fourth year we've done this one. Anyway, I left the flyers there, and hope you're able to make it. And there really isn't much else going on right now, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Jim.
Later on, I'll have something about the Health Summit. Okay, all right, thank you.
Item 12, items from city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. In speaking with Supervisor DeMartini, the board did approve the MOUs for the solid waste agreements that we recently approved, so those are going into effect beginning of next month. And I believe those we finished up some signatures today. I'm scheduled to have a meeting with the Alliance tomorrow. They're starting a new strategic plan for marketing Stanislaus County, so they're coming out tomorrow to meet with me on that. One of the projects that's been, it's kind of funny, it's been in the works since I've been city manager, started being city manager actually before, so since 2006, but we're getting a lot closer. We're getting ready to issue a CEQA document, which is a mitigated negative declaration for a wastewater treatment plant expansion. So that's great news for us. If we're able to get them to go ahead and accept our CEQA document and issue a new discharge permit for us, we would have enough capacity. We could build more capacity at our treatment plant to serve all of our primary sphere of influence that's identified in the general plan. So that's great news for us, and it'll help with economic development as we move forward in the future, because we'll be able to tell future businesses we have capacity to serve you at our wastewater treatment plant. With that, we're also nearing completion of some negotiations for a new water well and tank site. We're hoping to maybe get something to you in the next 60 to 90 days on that. And we're just kind of working out configuration of the property and what, you know, the property design could look like, so then we can go back to the property owner and saying, okay, this is how much land we need, and this is the configuration we want it to look like, and this is where we want it. So the good news is we do have a willing seller for that particular property. So that's a much needed project as we go forward, especially if we start getting into, if the drought situation gets more and more severe. You know, we just have the one water tank, and this new project would bring, right now we're discussing between 1 million and 1.5 million gallons of storage to the city. So that's pretty significant, not only from a storage perspective, but also a fire protection level as well. And then lastly, that kind of ties into this last one, is Northwest Quadrant. You know, that project's still moving forward, still reviewing some documents. So hopefully this fall, it will be at, you know, presenting some information to the community. We'll have a CEQA document out for people to review, and then follow that up with Planning Commission, then ultimately the City Council. And then we would have to go on to LAFCO for that final annexation boundary. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, comments for city manager?
This proposed area for the tank, where would it be?
It'd be inside the northwest quadrant. So Jensen Road, west of 33 and east of the canal.
Stick it residential like Houston did.
Well, it's going to be near residential, but it's going to be in first, not after the houses. So when you buy the house or you build the house, the tank is already there.
You seen that?
I did. That was the problem. They built the house and then the tank. We're going to build the tank, then the house. But part of it is we're also working with our designers to make sure that, there's adequate buffers. There's going to be plenty of landscape screening around the side of it. I don't know if there'll be Italian cypress or what we'll do, but there'll be some kind of screening there from not only the houses, but also the right-of-way.
Right.
So that way it's not an aesthetic eyesore.
Michael, just a quick question on housing in Newman. Have we seen a lot of new homes or permits being taken out for new homes?
Yeah, we're seeing, we have a couple builders in town now that are pulling more and more permits. You're seeing Sherman, a lot more activity out in Sherman Ranch, which is kind of on the north and east side of town. Monte Vista Estate, which is over by the high school. There's a builder out there. I think he's got 3 or 4 going out there as well. And then we have a smaller builder that's just picked up a few lots here and there, and he's built a few homes as well. So yeah, it's definitely exceeding our budgetary expectations. I think that's all driven by the price. The price of square foot price is at a point now to where the builders feel that they can meet their margins that they need to go forward. Some of these houses are up above $120 a square foot now, so that's a good sign for property owners as well as property tax.
Well, I don't know if you've followed up the Bay Area. Their inventory of homes is down to almost zero.
Yeah.
And that's
A lot of that, I think, is also driven by one of the Fed chairmen, I think, from the San Francisco area has already kind of leaked out that he thinks that the Feds are going to raise interest rates sometime before the end of the year is over. And as you know, that has a direct impact on housing prices because, as the rate goes up, someone can afford, less of a house. So,
thank you.
sure.
Thank you, Michael. Any other questions, comments? All right. Items from the staff, Chief?
Just one thing, there's a grant that just came out about the body-worn cameras, so I'll be working with our California consultant to apply for that grant. And it's 3 stages, large agency, or large city, medium city, and small city, so we're hopeful that something might come of it. And other than that, the Lady Warriors are playing their playoff game tomorrow, so if anyone wants to drive to Stockton, we'll be up there.
Great. Great. Thank you. Stephanie?
I have a LJ Newman update for you today.
looks
So we have
great.
some pictures.
It looks great.
Oh, I was clicking the mouse. Is that not going to work? Should I get the keyboard?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I'll get the keyboard.
Is the mouse off?
So as we all fondly remember, this is what the building looked like originally. This is the demolition that started in October. So as you can see, the top was removed. We obviously worked with the structure of the building, kept that intact. New ceiling grid, new exterior facade. This was progress in March where the facade was nearly complete. We still had some metal and trim work to be done. This is the interior of the main hall now. As the council had wished, it has been painted and freshened up. New ceiling, new flooring, new baseboards, new counters. We really cleaned it up. This is the outside of your memorial building. These are taken today. We have fresh landscaping outside, fresh coats of paint. We upgraded the existing light pole out front. We've added some lighting to the parking lot. We're going to be doing some final touches this week, but the building is pretty much ready to go. So happy to show that to the council. And this is another angle, kind of gives you another look at it.
Cool.
So just wanted to present that to you. Also related to the LJ Newman building, as Councilmember Davis had alluded to at a previous meeting, that she would like a type of open house for the public to tour the building. A number of dates, I called her today just to kind of get her, opinion and thoughts, and she asked me to pick some dates for the council's consideration. So I have a weekend date and then I have a weekday date. The one is Friday, June 12th, and that would be like 4 to 7, so, later afternoon. Another date that would work would be Saturday, July 11th, from 10 to 1, earlier in the day, if people wanted to come, look around, get a snack. Or we can potentially hold your city council meeting there and maybe open up the building at 5, let people come early, take a look, host the meeting there, kind of a two birds, one stone kind of thing. And we looked at the council schedule and we thought the second meeting in June would serve itself well to that. So I just wanted to give that for your consideration and discussion so I can take direction.
Sounds good.
So,
Well, it looks marvelous. I noticed when I came by the other day that the outside had gotten painted, and it just makes all the difference in the world. They did a great job on the building. It's something I need to be proud of. I think it really, really looks nice, real nice.
I know there was upgrades in the kitchen,
Mhm.
also the restrooms, but you don't have pictures of those areas.
it's hard to take pictures of the bathrooms because of the angle and the way
Because they needed,
Yes, they are definitely improved. We reconfigured both restrooms to meet with ADA standards. New floors, new partitions, new toilets, new everything. We even have automatic soap fixtures, so you don't have to touch them. So that's kind of nice. The kitchen is all stainless steel countertops, melamine, kind of hardy cabinets, new floors, new fire suppression system. The stove is being installed this week, and that's pretty much the final thing, was the stove being installed along with the refrigerator and freezer. We didn't have a freezer before, so now we will. That was a comment we received from people that had ice, that it was kind of hard to store it, so that'll be nice for them.
You don't need a wire to keep the door of the oven closed?
No, this one will actually stay closed. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and there's also going to be a microwave, so we made a point. Our vendor worked with us and gave us a good package deal for everything, so we saved a lot of money.
great.
Well done. Well done.
It looks real nice. I like the idea of having a council meeting there.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
But
That's
I
good.
think Ms. Ocasio is looking to you tonight to maybe give her some guidance on,
What
we
date?
need to start a planning process of putting that together, so if you could maybe talk amongst yourself and kind of give us some direction on a particular date, that would be most extremely helpful for us in terms of putting something together for you.
That way we can advertise it and get
Be
it
the
all together.
23rd?
We'll just maybe have a discussion of what you think would be best.
June 23rd is
June
the city
23rd would
council
be the
meeting
city
that we would
council meeting.
recommend.
Yes, that would be the second meeting in June if you wanted
The
to.
reason is because on June 9th, you have your budget workshop at 6. So we'd probably do that in here because it leads better with the presentation and the audiovisual system that we have here. We could adopt on the 23rd, but not necessarily need the full audiovisual system in place at the new building.
It's council's preference. Let's go ahead and decide now.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I like the idea for the 23rd.
Sounds good.
23rd?
23rd's great.
Open up.
23rd it is.
Make sure you
Okay.
get enough cookies and milk.
Yeah, we'll have some little goodies. Yeah.
And can we get in the paper?
Yeah.
Before that it's going to be there?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And we'll have it open before the meeting so people can come in and walk around.
Maybe something on the website.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll definitely start a PR situation on this and work with the paper, maybe even do an ad in the paper to let people know that it's going to be open that week. So we'll probably, if the meeting starts at 7, open the doors, 4:30, 5 o'clock, then people can come in and, and hang out and check things out. We'll have the meeting, everything all set up for a meeting there so that people can see. Just a couple things that we didn't include in part of the presentation. Currently, I think we have about 135 chairs. In our next budget, we'll be proposing to try the capacity of the room is, I think it's 200. And we're going to try to get you up to capacity in terms of chairs. Part of what we're doing right now, though, is because we had to reconfigure the restrooms, our storage closet where the tables and chairs go, that shrunk. So we got to see how many we can actually fit in there in order to accomplish that goal. So we'll do that as part of the budget process. So.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie. Nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job. Lou?
We put our new treasurer Mary Moore to work today. She came in and we walked her through viewing all of the checks and the support for those and had her go through the treasurer's reports and sign off on them. So your treasurer reports are now up to date. January through April are completed and in your inboxes. And you have to answer any questions you have.
Great. Any comments or questions? Thank you, sir. Consume anything else?
That's the report tonight.
All right. Okay. We'll start with you, Nick.
Just remind everybody about the FFA salsa and chili cook-off this Saturday. What time is it, Bob?
Where is it?
I think it starts 10 o'clock, 10:30, and
Where's
Where
it
is
at?
it?
At the high
it's
school.
at the high school.
No.
That's gonna be great. I mean, everyone should go out there. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of activities for kids and stuff.
Great.
I'm looking forward to it. In fact, I'm one of the judges for this also.
Nice
How much you
segue.
want now?
I'll outbid him so he loses.
I think it's exciting.
I'm sure it'll be a great event.
Have a great event.
Anything else you want to add, Bob? No. Casey?
Could you possibly throw something on the website about the water conserving
Conservation.
water too? Maybe
Yes.
get out there easy for people
Yeah.
to see. Kind of already started.
We can put the
That's
draft
all.
ordinance on there and then
Just a little
we
flyer or
try not to
something.
get too far ahead of the council because you haven't adopted it, we haven't had a public hearing. We try not to get too far ahead in terms of what we're going to do. We're proposing some things. So we can put a draft copy of the ordinance on there, but after your next meeting, if you do approve and adopt, then we're going to go into high gear in terms of education on that.
Absolutely. I had one other question. Wastewater treatment, you were talking about the expansion of the plant. Do we use any of that water now for watering lawns at the park?
We don't, we
Anything?
reclaim
Treated water
100% of it for farming.
For farming?
Correct.
Okay, that's right.
We don't have a purple pipe system that would treat
Treat it, bring it
track it back in. And also, we only treat it to a secondary level, not a tertiary level, so we really try to minimize the contact with the public.
Roberta, anything?
I don't have anything.
I just have a couple things on my notes here. Okay. First, just like to thank Michael for working with the 50-plus club and getting that resolved. So I'm sure they're happy. I hope they're happy.
I haven't heard from them, so.
And they haven't been banging down my door, so, and they're not lined up here tonight, so that's a good thing. So I guess they're happy. So thanks for, and I think that's it was a great way to work it out and make it to where they can stay and use the building. And and I know one of the conversations that had come up at one point in time, and I think I talked to Stephanie and Michael one day when I was touring over there, was one of the issues that we have, I know, is with people leaving, like the air conditioner running when they leave, and we're going to put a timer or some way we can control that where,
Yep.
There's a spin dial that,
Yeah.
a timer that's
Yeah.
going to go on there, so it automatically
yeah.
goes.
It'll be for
So-
4 hours. Can't go longer than 4 hours at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so that's great. And again, it was a great way to work it out with them, and, you know, I don't think by any means that the city want to gouge anybody, but there is a maintenance to maintain that building and that kind of thing, so we gotta try at least cover our costs a little bit, and so, but I'm glad you're able to work it out with them, so. One of the other things I have is, I don't know if anybody else got the letter from the VFW, their Memorial Day services are on May 25th at 11 a.m. at the Hills Ferry Cemetery District. And it's always a nice program they run out there, and I'll be there for that as well. And I just have one other thing I want to address tonight. I'll be attending, and I don't know if anybody else gets the mailers from the Farmland Trust, and, you know, this flyer pretty much has taken shots at all the mayors, well, not all of them, except for a couple of them, in this county, for standing up for what they believe is right for their communities. And as you may or may not know, the City Selection Committee, which I'm a part of, we meet on a regular basis. And this current group of mayors appointed Mayor Matthew Beekman of Houston to that committee. And Matthew is a personal friend of mine and colleague. And he and I have talked quite a bit. But I'm going to attend the City Selection Committee meeting tomorrow. I think it's an important meeting, and I know, and I'll use the term, the other side has been trying to stack the deck and get lots of people there and a lot of angry people that feel that the mayors, at least 6 of us, have fallen prey to the building industry. And I can tell you that's the farthest thing from the truth. And it irritates me that I've been categorized as basically kissing butt to the builders, and anybody who knows me knows that is not true. And I think it's important that everybody needs to know that this community and this council overwhelmingly, unanimously voted to put that ballot on the measure in November, and this community voted overwhelmingly to support our urban growth boundaries. And that's one of the items that LAFCO has pointed out as an avenue that cities should take. The Stanislaus County LAFCO Policy Board requires that cities choose one of 3 ways to, one of the 3 roads to go down. And one is to set urban growth limits, requiring a vote of the residents for any subsequent changes. It indicates that Newman has done that, and the voters in Modesto might require the same in November. With that, the cities, I'll say, 7 out of the 9 cities have voted to oppose Amendment 22. 6 out of the 9 mayors have opposed Amendment 22. Our supervisor, Jim DeMartini, sits on the LAFCO board, and he is the chairman of that board. It's no question and no secret that Jim and I are on different sides of the spectrum. I think it's important that people need to know, and I have passed this on to the other mayors as well as anybody else who will listen, that City of Newman hasn't annexed any property into the city limits since the year 2000. I think City of Newman's been very diligent in plotting our future with the guidance of our city manager and past councils. And this council has voted to continue that trend. And as we are going to look forward to our future, I think we've been diligent in identifying potential farmland that we're going to make sure that we don't build on, and we're going to protect that farmland. An issue that I dealt with about 2 years ago when Supervisor DeMartini had given an interview and made the comment that there wasn't one mayor in Stanislaus County who cares about farmland. I took objection to it, and I challenged him about that quote. And he indicated that he didn't recall making that comment. When I showed him the interview, he didn't remember making the interview as well. I think we need to work together, and that's what all of us in the mayor's group has been doing, has been trying to do. And 2 years have passed since I had that conversation with Supervisor DeMartini, and here I find myself again having to defend the city with comments being made by our supervisor to other elected officials in this county. So I asked our city manager to schedule a meeting with Supervisor DeMartini here in our building. We had that meeting. And part of that, I was concerned with his speaking with other mayors, other elected officials in this county, and not speaking to me directly about the direction the city of Newman is going. The supervisor assured the city manager and I that he thought the direction we were going was fine. We've had good communication with LAFCO, and that he thought our urban growth boundaries was fine. And that's what I recollect out of that meeting. But Mayor Bryan of Riverbank and Mayor Vieira of Ceres have both contacted me and told me that that's to the contrary, but that's not what he's telling them. So I'm bothered that it's politics being played at its best, and I'm I'm not a very good politician. I stick my foot in my mouth more than not. But part of that, I think the statements are just contrary to everything that Newman's doing. And I just feel that this council has chosen a path for our community. We've given direction to our city manager, and we are only one of the 9 cities have chosen urban growth boundaries. We're diligent. We're following our general plan. I'm bothered that these comments are being made. And what bothers me more is tomorrow's meeting, I'm sure is going to be heated. There's threats of continued retaliation against the cities who have voted against the amendment. One mayor has threatened to quit the city selection committee, and that's fine. That's his choice to do that if he so desires. There's another move by, we've been told, by Supervisor Withrow, and understanding that Supervisor DeMartini is also part of it, that they want to remove Brad Hahn, who's the public member on LAFCO. Because Brad Hahn and Amy Bublak, who's a council member of Turlock, asked the panel to step back, let's take a look at it, and before we vote on the measure, Mayor Beekman, by his own words, has told me more than once that there's a lot of misinformation out there about LAFCO and about the mitigation fees and so forth, so on. So I asked Matt, I said, well, then why don't we just take a step back? If there's so much misinformation, let's get it clarified. Supervisor Withrow has been in contact with our former city attorney, Tom Hallinan, and asking him to try to influence the 6 mayors to try to get us to change our vote. Bottom line is, Matthew Beekman, mayor of Houston, was appointed by the city selection committee, which consists of 9 mayors. We voted him to sit on the LAFCO board to be a voice for the cities as a whole, not individually, but as a whole. And we've had much discussion about growth in the direction that each city should go, and I'm a strong proponent thinking that our city, we are different from everybody else. We're different from Ceres, Turlock, Houston. I don't really care about the other 8 cities in as much as I care about the city of Newman, that I think each city should have the ability to craft out their own goals and objectives and growth. I'm not totally familiar with everything that's gone on in Patterson. I know there's a lot of misstatements being made about the price per acre. The new in lieu fees are going to jack the fees up quite a bit. And, you know, again, I'm not a big supporter of the building industry. You know, it is what it is. But I found it interesting that the 3 people who voted for Amendment 22 are all 3 farmers. I'm just kind of curious how that's going to play out for them as this whole thing evolves in terms of how much money they're each going to make off selling their property, should they go that way. I don't know. Given the fact that there's so much misinformation that's out there, I wish the LAFCO board would have taken the high road. I've not spoken to Supervisor Withrow particularly or individually as much as I have with our own supervisor. But contrary to what you read in B in some of the opinions, the upcoming vote by the City Selection Committee is not to readdress or change Amendment 22. What's done is done. I don't think that we can change that. But our goal as a committee is to see that somebody's on that panel that represents all 9 cities, not Stanislaus County, not anybody particular on the board, and not for any personal gain. I just want somebody there who's going to represent my city, some of the wishes and desires that we have. And unfortunately, Mayor Beekman hasn't done that. So consequently, after I'm sure the much heated discussion tomorrow night, there'll be a vote, and I can only anticipate how that vote's going to go. I know that some of my colleagues in this county have taken a lot of heat There's a lot of flyers being posted around town. Maybe Newman's too far for them to come out here, I don't know. There's a lot of outsiders that are getting involved in this thing. I did receive one email asking me why I wanted to fire Matt Beekman. I'm not firing anybody. I've got nothing but support from our local community. And I think the feeling of people is they don't want somebody from the outside telling us what we should do, how we should do it. I tend to agree with that. One of the problems I had is there was plenty of opportunities to try to resolve this issue. Supervisor Withrow was asked why LAFCO board didn't take a step back and try to reconsider and get the right information out there. His comment was he didn't think it would do any good. Well, obviously it wouldn't do any good if you don't hold the conversation. So as a result, we're at odds. I'm at odds with Supervisor DeMartini. He doesn't agree with me. I don't agree with him. And that's okay. It's okay to disagree. But it's taken politics to another level that I'm not used to, and we're going to see how that's going to play out tomorrow. But I'm there to represent this city council and our community as a whole. Again, our urban growth boundaries that was supported by our voters overwhelmingly is a good message to send to the other 8 cities and to Stanislaus County. And I'm disappointed that it's gotten to the point it has. And again, I've made it clear to Mayor Beekman, I consider him a friend and a colleague, and I'll continue to do that, even though we're at different ends of the spectrum. And his removal from the city selection committee tomorrow is imminent, and I'm sure it's going to happen. The other side, wants to have conversation now. That conversation should have been had prior to March 25th. It's a little too late to have the conversation at this point. With the constant threats now and the media bashing and the letters to the MSOB and the Farmland Trust, Denny Jackman and everybody else. I've been lumped into that group. I haven't been attacked personally, which is fine. You know, I'll stand by my fellow mayors, but I've been included in that group. And but I have to say I haven't received any negative calls or negative emails except for one person who had things screwed up and she was ill-informed. So, but at any rate, this meeting is going to go down tomorrow. I know Supervisor Keyes announced at a board meeting encouraging people to attend city selection committee meeting and voice their opinions. So, as a group, you know, we'll move forward. I've advised my fellow mayors, let's listen and move on from there and take a vote. We'll do what we need to do, and then we just move on, and hopefully we can all remain friends. And our group is a strong group, and we work well together, and we share a lot of information, and as it should be. And I hope that this will continue. So, with that, I just want to let you all know, kind of give you an update where we're going and what's going to happen tomorrow, and we'll see how that meeting goes. I'll answer any questions if anybody has any. If not, Michael, anything else you want to add? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Adjourn, motion.
Second, all in favor? We're adjourned.